When, through decorations of light and shade, we drove up to 14 Thayer Street, a grave little lad met us with the keys and a note from Gaston, who had rented the house for us. My Lo, without granting her new surroundings one glance, unseeingly turned on the radio to which instinct led her, and lay down on the living-room sofa with a batch of old magazines which in the same precise and blind manner she landed by dipping her hand into the nether anatomy of a lamp table. I really did not mind where to dwell, provided I could lock my Lolita up somewhere. But I had, I suppose, in the course of my correspondence with vague Gaston, vaguely visualized a house of ivied brick. Actually, the place bore a dejected resemblance to the Hayes home, a mere 400 miles distant, and it was the same sort of dull grey frame affair with a shingled roof and dull green drill awnings, and the rooms, though smaller and furnished in a more consistent plush and plate style, were arranged in much the same order. My study turned out to be, however, a much larger room, lined from floor to ceiling with some 2,000 books on chemistry, which my landlord, on sabbatical leave for the time being, taught at Beardsley College. I had hoped Beardsley School for Girls, an expensive day school with lunch thrown in and a glamorous gymnasium, would, while cultivating all those young bodies, provide some formal education for their minds as well. Gaston Godin, who was seldom right in his judgment of American habitus, had warned me that the institution might turn out to be one of those where girls are taught, as he put it with a foreigner's love for such things, not to spell very well, but to smell very well. I don't think they achieved even that. At my first interview with Headmistress Pratt, she approved of my child's nice blue eyes. Blue? Lolita? And of my own friendship with that French genius. A genius? Gaston? And then, having turned Dolly over to a Miss Cormorant, she wrinkled her brow with a kind of recueillement and said, "We are not so much concerned, Mr. Humbert, with having our students become bookworms, or to be able to reel off all the capitals of Europe which nobody knows anyway, or learn by heart the dates of forgotten battles. What we are concerned with is the adjustment of the child to group life. That is why we stress the 4 Ds, dramatics, dance, debating, and dating. We are confronted by certain facts. Your delightful Dolly will presently enter an age group where dates, dating, date dress, date book, date etiquette mean as much to her as, say, business, business connections, business success mean to you, or as much as, smiling, the happiness of my girls means to me. Dorothy Humbird is already involved in a whole system of social life which consists, whether we like it or not, of hot dog stands, corner drugstores, malts and cokes, movies, square dancing, blanket parties on beaches, and even hair-fixing parties. Naturally, at Beardsley School we disapprove of some of these activities, but we rechannel others into more constructive directions. But we do try to turn our backs on the fog and squarely face the sunshine. To put it briefly, while adopting certain teaching techniques, we are more interested in communication than in composition. That is, with due respect to Shakespeare and others, we want our girls to communicate freely with the live world around them rather than plunge into musty old books. We are still groping, perhaps, but we grope intelligently, like a gynecologist feeling a tumor. We think, Dr. Humberg, in organismal and organizational terms. We have done away with the mass of irrelevant topics that have traditionally been presented to young girls, leaving no place in former days for the knowledges and the skills and the attitudes they will need in managing their lives and, as the cynic might add, the lives of their husbands. Mr. Humberson, let us put it this way. The position of a star is important, but the most practical spot for an icebox in the kitchen may be even more important to the budding housewife. You say that all you expect a child to obtain from school is a sound education. But what do we mean by education? In the old days, it was in the main a verbal phenomenon. I mean, you could have a child learn by heart a good encyclopedia, and he or she would know as much or more than a school could offer. Dr. Hummer, do you realize that for the modern pre-adolescent child, medieval dates are of less vital value than weekend ones? Twinkle? To repeat a pun that I heard the Beardsley College psychoanalyst permit herself the other day. We live not only in a world of thoughts, but also in a world of things. Words without experience are meaningless. What on earth can Dorothy Hummerson care for Greece and the Orient, and their harems and slaves? This programme rather appalled me, but I spoke to two intelligent ladies who had been connected with the school, and they affirmed that the girls did quite a bit of sound reading, and that the communication line was more or less ballyhoo, aimed at giving old-fashioned Beardsley School a financially remunerative modern touch, though actually it remained as prim as a prawn. Another reason attracting me to that particular school may seem funny to some readers, but it was very important to me, for that is the way I'm made. Across our street, exactly in front of our house, there was, I noticed, a gap of weedy wasteland, with some colourful bushes and a pile of bricks and a few scattered planks, and the foam of shabby mauve and chrome autumn roadside flowers. And through that gap you could see a shimmery section of School Road running parallel to our Thayer Street, and immediately beyond that, the playground of the school. Apart from the psychological comfort this general arrangement should afford me by keeping Dolly's day adjacent to mine, I immediately foresaw the pleasure I would have in distinguishing from my study bedroom, by means of powerful binoculars, the statistically inevitable percentage of nymphets among the other girl children playing around Dolly during recess. Unfortunately, on the very first day of school, workmen arrived to put up a fence some way down the gap, and in no time a construction of tawny wood maliciously arose beyond that fence, utterly blocking my magic vista. And as soon as they had erected a sufficient amount of material to spoil everything, those absurd builders suspended their work and never appeared again.